This is Nashua Geographic Episode 3. My name is John Prestidge, and this all deals with flowers, foliage, ferns, fungi, and fruit all on Hollis Crossing. And there is no attempt to name these, what you're seeing, the plants and the flowers, by the formal class, order, family, genus, or species. What I will do is try to name them more as a layman might, based on local tradition. I'm recording this on my deck. We may have the pleasure of hearing birds surrounding us, catbirds and other orioles and birds that do make some pretty nice sounds. What we're seeing there was a double tulip, and it was really quite beautiful. You're probably going to hear me use the word beautiful quite a lot in this session, because I do see a lot of beauty even in weeds, flowers, foliage, fungi, and I tend to look at the world through rose-colored glasses, which probably isn't all bad. Some of these plants we're seeing, in addition to that beautiful tulip, are flowers that are quite common, and they may be seen in somebody's flower bed. They may be seen along the river or just in wild strips of grass or areas here in the neighborhood. We saw tiger lilies. We're seeing different colored lilies. We're seeing roses, black-eyed Susan. Some people may call them coneflowers. And then there's a little wood sorrel, yellow, and of course then you're seeing more tulips. Then we have jonquils, daffodils. I'm not sure what the proper name is, but we enjoy them, and I see the beauty. Here is an allium. This is a little bunch of white flowers. I could probably look up in some journal and find out what they are, but I prefer to just go along and call them beautiful little white flowers, along with the iris, and then there are poppies, and then I think these could be moonflowers or star flowers. Then we have columbine, wild columbine. Next we have, this may be the star flower I was thinking about, and then we have yellow iris. And then here are some petunias, as well as in the background there may be some portulacas. And here are peonies, which are of course very pretty. And then we have pansies, Johnny jump ups, and more little wild roses. This yellow flower may be of the aster family, I'm not really sure. And here I think are some, could be either bloodroots or some mayflower. Then we're seeing zinnias, petunias. And here I think we have some lilacs and some flowers I should know the name but don't. Here are some little, appear to be little like daisies. Here is verbena. These look very large, but they are really quite small. And peonies come in, of course, multitude of colors. We're seeing little either zinnias, or perhaps they were Gerber daisies and hibiscus. I had a hibiscus flower that had a blossom 11 inches in diameter. And here are some more yellow irises seen along the river. These may be the wood sorrel, the yellow wood sorrel, and we're blessed to have the moccasin flowers along the river. And here is a little jewelweed, or touch-me-nots. Here are crocuses. Beautiful, some of the earliest ones. And here we have tuberous begonias. Tuberous begonias happen to be my mother's favorite flower, along with African violets. So I think I've adopted the tuberous begonia as one of my favorites. And we raise them, we put them in pots. And in the fall, before the first frosts, we take them in and put them out the next morning. So we can keep doing this until Thanksgiving, when we can enjoy the colors of the tuberous begonias quite late. Then, of course, the roses. Roses are pretty hard to beat. Now, if this isn't a star flower, it should be named a star flower. But who am I to suggest that? These are flowering trees in the spring. Here's some more. And down along the river, the yellow iris. That was once domestic, but it's kind of escaped and become a wild flower. And there's oxeye daisies. And here is a little flower bed that somebody's taking very good care of. And I'm coming now back to more tuberous begonias. They come in a multitude of colors. Here we have hydrangeas, and I guess the color is somewhat dependent on the acidity of the soil. Some more wild roses. And here is a different color hibiscus blossom. Now this next one is very interesting. That was very, very late in the season, and it was right near the root of a shrub. And I'm not sure what it was. It may have been an accidental. Here we're seeing roses. And this is a bed of chrysanthemums. This is right near the entryway to Hollis Crossing. This is Virgin's Bower along the water. And of course we have lilacs. And this little plant, I'm not sure I know what the name. I thought it was sumac at first, but apparently it is not. I like the shape and the color. Here are some more yellow beauties. Here is American elderberry. And these we see up by the post office. Here are the little blue flowers again. And apple blossoms. Everybody likes apple blossoms. Now we're into fungi, and this is along the trees down by the river, or on the tree trunks by the river. And little crocuses right there. This little patch of moss on a rock right outside our front door I thought was beautiful, along with the bittersweet. And here is American holly covered by snow in the winter. And here are some more bittersweet berries. And the fruit on the trees are probably crab apples. And more little berries that I find to be quite fascinating. And more bittersweet. And this being New England, we are blessed with foliage. This happened to be black oak, I believe, or crimson oak. And the leaf patterns on the ground, I think, are amazing, along with the colors of these fruit and the leaves. There's some more. More bittersweet berries and foliage. And this is a climbing nightshade, I believe that is. There's another better photo coming of the blue leaf foliage. More foliage. And that happened to be a white mulberry tree bush right there. More foliage. And this is an exploded milkweed pod. The monarch butterfly is dependent on that to make its home and its livelihood. These are flowers given to us by a neighbor. Foliage. And more berries that are quite fascinating. And some more. And we see goldenrod in the back. And here is the American chestnut. We can see the fruit of the chestnut right up there. And this is a closed gentian. This is down by the river. Here are some wild grapes. Now, of course, somebody's asking me where they are. I want to start my own vineyard. Here is some more goldenrod and verbena. Little ones hanging in a pot. Wild roses. Here again are some very little, beautiful little flowers, very tiny. We see them on the ball field, little pods. Here I think this is the alternate leaf dogwood. Purple loosestrife, which is considered an invasive weed, but I think invasive weed is in the eye of the beholder. They're pretty. Along the river. And acorns. This could be a crimson oak. Here are some American chestnut. And here is a jewelweed, spotted jewelweed again, the touch-me-nots. And some berries. They're not blueberries, I think they're bunchberries. And here are some little maple seedlings, little violets. And this is also an interesting one. That's Indian pipe. That has no chlorophyll. And it thrives, it makes its home on a fungi, sometimes called the corpse flower. Here are brown-eyed Susans again. And these are quite common down by the river on the trail, more purple loosestrife. And then we have hawthorn berry. Found this little garden or little spot down by the river one morning, and I just thought it was a sweet little secret garden, so to speak, and I hope that others enjoy it as much as I enjoyed capturing it by a photo. Now we get some roses and the sumac, staghorn sumac berries, and a milkweed pod before it's exploded, along with more fungi. This is a beaked hazelnut down by the river. Here are some catkins. And here we are with some white hydrangeas. And this may be more purple loosestrife, can't quite tell for sure, but here's Jack in the Pulpit. That's an interesting one. There's several different varieties, and they produce a clump of red scarlet berries in the fall. Here is some verbena and little petunias. This is clematis. And here's some little, they could be of the aster family. And we see roses. And more roses. And these we see hanging out on a lot of pots, flower pots. And this is interesting. It could be a bellwort, but I'm not sure, but it is quite pretty. And more columbine. More little white flowers as seen down by the river. And ferns. Ferns don't really have a flower. They are pretty in just the way they are structured. Rhododendron. More of those with a bumblebee. And the daisy. Day's End comes from. More daisies. And more yellow iris by the river. Still more fun to watch and fun to look at. As I said earlier, these were once domestic, but they have escaped to become as popular in the wilds, and blue flag or blue iris. And more Jack in the Pulpit. And this is seen down by the river as well, along with blossoms like this and catkins. and lilies or lady slippers. Lilies are perhaps flowering crab trees. Wild mustard, I believe, and the little of the dandelion family. And tulips, always nice to see. A sure sign of spring. More tulips. And more roses. This is another piece. This is a fungi, actually. It looks like a flower, but it was developed from on a stem or stalk. More berries. More foliage. Beautiful foliage. Probably maple. This is a climbing nightshade. This is like the bittersweet, but it has a blue leaf in the fall, and I found that to be fascinating. More foliage. And this, again, is a white mulberry bush. And sumac. And I believe this could even be poison ivy. I had to show somebody what it looks like, along with these berries put down by the river as well. This is the end of the presentation. I hope you've enjoyed it. This is actually all on Hollis Crossing, and we're so fortunate to have the beauty around us. And I'm always looking for more flowers or foliage to photograph. And that's about the end, but I thank you.